dugsiga boardingka iyo maalinlaha ah ee Amano Boarding and Day School.
Peace be on you, dear students from 3A and 3B. This teacher Abdullah Ahmed. We will continue our lesson. This is lesson 5, as you can see from here. So today our titles are, the topics are aridity and desertification. Aridity and desertification. We have just finished, you know, the different zones of climate. So today our topic is about aridity and desertification. So the main objectives of our lesson will be what is the definition of these two terms. What are they? Aridity and desertification. Then we talk about what causes aridity and desertification and the consequences from aridity and desertification, and then the solution is how can we solve these two environmental problems, aridity and desertification. Okay, so in terms of definition, what is aridity first? It's a state of land being deficient of moisture, leading to little or no vegetation. This is a condition of environment where there is, you know, less, you know, rain. And if there is less rain or precipitation, there will be always what's called less vegetation, and at the same time, you know, that area will not have more trees. What about desertification now? Desertification is the process in which desert-like conditions slowly and steadily encroach on formerly productive agricultural land. An area that was previously agricultural land, farmland. Desertification is going to encroach, you know, consume. And that means that agricultural land will finally become what? Will finally become a desert. So for example, if this is a desert, and here we have, you know, farms. The process of the spreading of desert is called desertification. What would happen? The desert would spread, and finally would encroach. So the farm area now completely will change into a desert. So that's what desertification is. The process by which desert-like condition is. The condition is of desert. Encroach slowly and steadily an agricultural, previously agricultural area. Okay, so now let us go to again what are the causes of aridity and desertification. There are two different causes of aridity and desertification. The first one is called natural causes, or we can simply say physical causes. What are the natural causes? The first one is low and unreliable rainfall, below 250 millimeters per annum, causing little or no vegetation. So the natural factors of aridity and desertification, it includes what? Less rainfall. That rainfall is always below 250 millimeters annum means yearly. If the rain is like that, vegetation would be less, grass would also be less. The other natural factor that leads to aridity and desertification is very high temperature, which leads to high evaporation. Automatically, if the temperature is high, evaporation will also be high. There will be a loss of water fiber. Where hot dry wind is below of a region, causing drying effect on land, harmattan of West Africa. So the other natural factor that can cause an area to become a desert or arid is hot dry winds. So if there are hot dry winds blowing of a region, what do they cause? They just lead to drying effect. So winds are medium of you know, of heat. They just carry it from one place to another. So if wind is below of a dry and hot place, they carry dryness and hotness. And the vice versa is also true. So causing drying effect on land. Good example is the hot dry wind called harmattan, which blows over West Africa. So we have talked about three important natural causes: low and unreliable rainfall, high temperature, and hot dry winds and hot dry winds. What about human causes, human factors that can lead to deserts and to desertification, desert-like conditions and aridity? What are they? Number one is deforestation. what's called when people clear forests. Like for example in our country, Somaliland, deforestation is very high, although the Ministry of Environment and Rural Affairs is making progress, but our fuel depends on mostly charcoal. For that reason, an area becomes arid and desert desert when there are deforestation and when forests are cleared. The other one is overgrazing, what we call what? Overgrazing. Overgrazing. So keeping large number of animals which exceed the carrying capacity of land. The land has what's called carrying capacity. A grassland in a specific area can only support a specific number of livestock. So if that number exceeds, the land will be exhausted, and that can lead to aridity and desertification. All right. So poor agricultural practices. If people, practice poor farming methods, what can happen? It can also lead to desertification. They include the following. For example, overcultivation is a poor farming method. It also includes monoculture or monocropping, the cultivation of single crop in the same land without using fertilizer. It's going to cause the land to get exhausted. And burning, which lead to soil erosion. So generally, poor agricultural methods like overcultivation, monoculture can lead to what is called desertification and aridity. The other one is industrialization also takes part. It's a human factor, because industries, they release what's called greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, methane, sulfur dioxide, and etc. They release it to the atmosphere, and that can also lead to what's called global warming and climate change. As a result of that, some places who were wet might become dry and desert. Like many places now in the world, it is going to cause reverse. So industrialization, which releases greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, which absorb more heat, making the Earth's temperature to rise. So these are also human factors related with desertification and aridity. Okay, what about now? What are the effects of aridity and desertification? The effects of aridity and desertification are more. So we will take some of it. Number one is, if a place is having that problem of being arid and desert, then you will see the soil to be what? The soil to be infertile, and that means less vegetation. What about the other one? Low agricultural production. The production will be less. The other one is shortage of water. I am underlining the most important point here. It can also lead to migration of people. It can cause what's called a destruction of vegetation. Can lead to what? Also extinction of some plants. Extinction of some plants. It can also lead to extinction of some plants and animals. So these are generally the effects. The effects aridity and desertification can have on the environment and on the people. So the soil will be infertile. The soil is going to be infertile, and this can support little or no vegetation. Second, what about the production from the farmers? They will be less. What about the water? The water will be very, very short. So if the agricultural production becomes less, what would happen? Famine, hunger, starvation will be there. The water will be less for domestic and industrial use. What would happen to the people when they face those problems? They have to move and they have to migrate from those areas that became full of, desert and arid. Affected by aridity, leading to population pressure and eventually conflict. So now imagine people when they leave their area because of these two problems, aridity and desertification, they go to another place. People have been living there, so that area will become overpopulated, and the newcomers will face problems from the previous settlers in that area. It can also cause destruction of vegetation, which exposes land to soil erosion. And the last one is extinction of some plants and animal species causing loss of biodiversity. So as a result of desertification and aridity, there will be extinction of some animals, because there are some animals and some plants in those areas. So when desert encroaches it, they will be gone. They may migrate, they might die. For that reason, these are generally the effects of desertification and aridity. Okay, so now let us go again to the solution to aridity and desertification. How can we solve? The first one is plantation. The best way to solve this problem, aridity and desertification, is to make forestation and reforestation programs, planting new trees in a place with no trees. And at the same time, if people cut down trees, they should also plant others. That is one way we can prevent, because plants, they really hold the soil particles together. That's the job they do, because trees protect the soil from erosion. Trees are life, that's what we call. The other one is, people, they should use what's called, they should use soil conservation measures. They should use the cultivation methods that don't lead to desertification and soil erosion. They should use those that can preserve the soil from the winds to blow away. For example, cover crops, they can use the cover crops. For example, when they are planting crops, there should be other crops that can also take care of the soil. They should also use what's called windbreakers, contour ploughing, terracing on the slopes. So windbreakers are very big trees that are surrounded from the other crops to prevent the wind to destroy the crop. For example, suppose you have here citrus fruit plants. Your farm is citrus fruit here. Okay, so the wind is coming from here, the wind is blowing from here. The wind can cause a problem to your crops here, your plant. So the best solution to do is what? You have to plant tall trees here, because if the wind comes, it can cause a problem to your crops. Your crops will be falling down without even ripening. So the windbreakers will be those crops that you have to plant that area where the wind is coming from. So those big trees, what will they do? They will break the power of the wind. They will break the power of the wind. And that means it will solve the problem. The other problem that, you know, the way we can solve this is also what? Creating a number of animals which is proportional to the carrying capacity of land. Students, what is this? Which problem is this solution for? It is the solution for overgrazing. The right number of livestock to the right, you know, size of the land that the grass is available. So the number of animals should be proportional to the carrying capacity of the land. The other one is, if the area is dry, it should be irrigated. Water should be provided. The other one is what? Energy saving stoves should be using. The stoves that we use, the traditional ones, they consume a lot of charcoal. So we should use the new available ones. Okay? Like, you know, the one called Chico that is available now. Because it saves a lot of charcoal, and that even it's also better what? To use alternative source of energy, like, you know, like for example some gas, alternative source of energy. Instead of using wood or charcoal, it's better to use energy saving stoves. The other one is, we should also use and introduce what's called drought resistant crops in the arid areas. In the arid areas, we should cultivate those crops that can resist, can withstand with the drought, with the arid. The last one is, we talked about, you know, greenhouse gas and how it's affecting the climate of the world. So this one, the governments of the world, they should control the industrialization. There should be agreements and treaties to prevent. So controlling industrialization by setting laws governing pollution. So these are your questions. Okay? These are the questions. You will do it, inshallah. Explain 3 major causes of aridity in Somaliland and come come up with, and come up with the possible solution. So that's for all today. This teacher Abdullah wishing you a blessed happy Mubarak, Ramadan Mubarak. And you have to do also your assignment, and I will send you in the Amano online website. Put your username, your password, and do it only at one time. Stay at home, stay safe. Wassalamu alaikum.